Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar on extending the use of bin management in standard SAP Business One utilizing Resolv plus mobility. My name is Shannon Kennedy, and I will be giving you a brief overview of today's demonstration, and I have with me on the line our CEO, Tim Singleton, and Darryl Goodman, our Director of Resolv. Darryl will be leading our webinar a little bit later. First, I'd like to review some information regarding Achieve It Solutions for those of you who may not know us. Achieve It Solutions has been an SAP Gold partner since 2005, specializing in SAP Business One and SAP HANA. Resolv plus Mobility was an add-on built specifically for SAP Business One and is an SAP certified integration with MS SQL and SAP HANA. You can see our entire list of modules here in our slide, and we'll be touching upon a few of these in today's demonstration. Achieve It Solutions has offices here in the US as well as abroad and an extensive global partner network. Our main concentration is within distribution and import-export and light manufacturing companies. As you can see, though, a suite of modules can add enhancement to SAP Business One for just about any company. We'll begin our demonstration with a little bit of information regarding the advantages of an organized bin system, which was first introduced to SAP in version 9. Utilizing an organized bin system can help your entire warehouse team simplify its order fulfillment process, making it easier to find and store items while eliminating time searching for inventory. This allows you to maximize warehouse space, reduce cost and time-consuming processes. It also allows you to increase your accuracy of your order fulfillment, therefore reducing returns and increasing your customer service levels. Let's review a little bit of the standard bin functionality in SAP Business One that already works within Resolv. Keeping in mind that Resolv utilizes all of SAP's master data, including your bin location master data, your item master data, and your warehouse master data. Here's to all of the rules and settings that you set up within SAP Business One. Some of these include your receiving bin location, exclusion from auto allocations on issue option. We also utilize your standard barcode as seen in your bin master data, and we also make sure to honor the rules set for your min and max quantities. We'll be going over a little bit more of your min-max quantities during our webinar when we speak about replenishment options. Those of you who know SAP Business One well know that there's also a set of restrictions that you can set per bin. When you're utilizing Resolv, it will honor all of the restrictions you have set on your bin, including your item, unit of measure, batch, and transaction restrictions. You also provide and manage a full visibility in tracking your batch and serial numbers at the bin level. There are some company-wide warehouse setup to keep in mind that Resolv also is sure to respect. These include your auto-allocate on issue or receipt and your receive up to settings seen here in your warehouse master setup. Now we will briefly discuss your extended bin functionality in SAP Business One with Resolv WMS, which will be demonstrated in our webinar today. As mentioned earlier, we will be touching upon some exclusive Resolv modules, including WMS and also our quality control options. If you're using our quality control module, you will notice that your bin master data has a new option called quality process bin. This bin will allow your warehouse team to know that it's only for materials that have to go through your quality process. There are 4 options in naming this bin. They include inspection bin location, your not okay bin location, your rejection bin location, and your rework bin location. The not okay bin location is for a material that may or may not be rejected in the future, so it may need to go through an additional QC process. Another option you'll see here is something called your Replenishment Source bin. We'll be seeing this in our demonstration as well, but this will enable you to label a bin as a replenishment source for other bins. Our next option is our staging bin. This can also be called a staging location. This can be utilized to stage materials that may or may not ship, but you want to ensure that they are available for whenever the truck gets there to ship. This can be used, for example, if you're only shipping full truckloads. You can put all of the material that will be shipping on that truck in one location, close to your loading dock. Your next added bin location is something called your Reservation Bin option, or your Reservation Bin Type. This is brand new to Resolv, and it is utilized when using order reservations. It will allow you to move materials for your order or for your customer to a specified reservation bin, which will allow this material to be reserved for only your order and or customer, and therefore no one else can utilize that material. Next option is something called Crosstalk. This allows you to work with inbound and outbound shipments quickly in your warehouse. For example, if you have an order coming in today for an item that you know is also on order, due out, say, today or tomorrow, you can enable cross-docking, which will allow you to move that material directly from your inbound order to your outbound order without putting it in an inventory and then subsequently moving it again later that day because it needs to ship. Our next extended functionality that we'll be speaking with does have to do with bins but aren't actual bin locations. These include directed put away, reserve consolidations, and advanced bin allocations. Our first functionality, directed put away, enables you to set a list of company-wide rules that enable the system to know what to do with materials as they're being received based upon those rules. Please keep in mind that these rules are also seen and respected in the order in which you set them. So your number one rule will be the number one priority when receiving materials in. Our next rule is reservation consolidations. These are separate rules set up that enable you to deal with and manage reserved materials based upon the rules for which you set in the system. This is very helpful if you have a lot of orders coming in that are reserved already for customers that have placed the orders. And last but not least, we have our advanced bin allocations, which is a brand new module brought to you by Resolv to work with SAP Business One sales orders. Advanced allocations, also called advanced inventory allocations, will enable you to create auto pick tickets based on SAP sales orders and upon rules and queries set in your advanced bin allocations configuration. This is all based upon the allocation of inventory at the bin level. This is a huge time saver for your warehouse team. Thank you again for your time today. We have included in our last slide all of our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions or concerns you may have. We will also be making a copy of this webinar available to all of our attendees. Thank you again for joining us.
On today with respect to the bins and the functionality is going to be on HANA, but that the bin functionality does exist within the SQL version for SAP Business One as well, and so does support for the bins within the Resolv WMS for SQL. So the functionality is similar between the two systems, and if you have any concerns or questions regarding the SQL version of SAP Business One, please do reach out to us, although this demonstration will be HANA only today. As mentioned before, we're completely using SAP Business One as the basis for all of our functionalities. So in here, we're going to be just using the common functions to be able to navigate. Everything is built into the main menu. And I'm just going to go ahead and start on the bin location master. So within the bin location master, you can see is that we've created multiple bins. I'm just going to go ahead and select a certain sub-level here. Ooh, sorry, I meant to be in find mode. We're just going to go in here and select a certain number of bins. And what you can see is that I do have the ability to have multiple different bins that we're going to be using throughout the different system, throughout the different pieces of the demonstration. And here I'm working in a clean room, so we're going to be working through different types of bins. Do notice that you have the ability to create bins of a structure that represents a physical layout like a racking system, as well as being able to use just portions of the sub level layout. So you can see like our receiving bin doesn't have all the different parts. When working through this, you'll see here that we have the ability to indicate certain bins are or are not excluded from automatic allocation, which as Shannon pointed out, is going to work during the picking process so that you have your bulk bins that can be used for replenishment. And those are all going to be available here as well. So we have the ability to determine whether or not the bin is a replenishment, the bin, a cross-dock, or so on. So let's start with our first bin here. This is just a standard picking bin. So we have our bin location here. As you can see, these areas up here are all user-defined inside of SAP Business One as your warehouse sublevels, as well as the ability to control whether it is or is not a receiving bin allocation or a picking. We are using the ability to support the warehouse attributes, the bin attributes, to be able to determine whether the items, like for instance, clean, or if we look at the other values inside climate, it could be a frozen or a heated bin location to be able to store the material. Looking at this bin, again, you'll see the ability to see the quantity that's located in the bin, so you can see the different items, the quantity that's in the bin. You can see any batches or serial numbers. So again, when looking at this data, you'll see that everything is available inside SAP Business One. That's really great because there is no outside system. So whether you're working inside SAP Business One, within the mobile environment, you're always working on the same data at the same time with no synchronization issues or anything else along those lines. So support for serials, batch numbers, bins, all that kind of stuff is going to be consistent regardless of where you are inside or outside of SAP Business One. Moving on to the next bin, you can see here I've have basically the same information, except that this particular bin has been specified to be only for the item Diet Coke. And you were able to see that I was able to do that by using a item restriction, in this case, the specific item for the Diet Coke. And that's going to give us the ability to do is to make sure that only this item can go into the bin. It's what's known as a fixed bin location. And of course, if we set this up here inside of SAP Business One, when we're working on the handheld or the mobile environment, you'll see that it will in fact honor these restrictions and not allow you to place any other item into this. Fairly easy to set up. And if we drill into the item, you can see that there are other features inside of SAP Business One working with bins that help make the use of the bins easier. So for example, you can see I have the ability to set a default bin location where the product should be. And if I right click and go into my bin contents, you can see that you do have the ability to have the same product in multiple different bins. So when looking at these bins here, you can see that I have overstocked bins that are replenishment sources. I have receiving bin locations, and we're going to be working with these throughout the process. So again, this data is available natively inside of SAP, and we'll see it again when we go into the mobile environment as well. Moving back to the bin code, when we talk about the warehouses, you do have the ability inside of SAP to set up multiple warehouses, as you're probably already familiar with. Each warehouse can independently be set to be bin enabled or not bin enabled. So if you do have some warehouses that you manage yourself and other warehouses that you do not, that it might be managed by a third party or something else along those lines, you can choose to enable bin one warehouse at a time or specific warehouses at a time. Additionally, at the warehouse level, you'll be able to set rules that are defaults. So for example, when we are picking, which is what an issue is, you have the ability for the system to determine how it should route the use through the warehouse. And so you'll see that there are some typical examples where if you want to move your oldest inventory first, you can have FIFO. You also have situations where you want to use the least number of touches. You want the picker to go to one location and be able to satisfy all of their quantity. So that could be descending quantity. Or maybe you want to use your warehouse space more efficiently, and so you want to go in ascending order and go and take that. These are things that are going to be available for you inside of SAP Business One. It's going to generate pick tickets, and you'll see how we automate and use these later. Of course, in addition, you have the ability to work with the bin location code order or the alternative sort order, which are values on the bin that will help us identify if we want to use the further. You have the ability to enable receiving restrictions. When you are receiving, you have the ability to go ahead and work by quantity, by weight, or both quantity and weight. And of course, that makes it more efficient in terms of being able to ensure that when we do putaways, you have the ability to work with the multiple bins and to put the material into the correct location. Now, moving back into the bin here, again, you'll see this particular one has an additional restriction. So not only is it for the Diet Coke, but because this was an overstock bin or a bulk bin, you'll see that I've used the ability to flag it as a replenishment source. As mentioned, this gives Resolv the ability to tell the system which bin it should use to move material as we need to replenish, let's say, from our bulk bins to our forward picking zones. Now, because it's a bulk bin, we wanted to make sure that we're always working in a specified unit of measure. So we've specified an additional restriction for unit of measure, and we've said that it must be a case. This ensures that we always have full cases moving into and out of this bin location and do not break the cases so that we're able to work with. As mentioned before, you'll see that we have the alternative sort code. So even though this is alphabetically a very high bin because it's still part of shelf one, you can see the alternative sort code is set to a high number, indicating that we would use this bin and that we don't automatically exclude it. And then we don't automatically recommend it for picking. So it gives us the ability to control the sort and sequence. Now, as we talk about different types of bins, again, here we can go into find, and I'm just going to use the staging bin. So if I come in here and do find, you can see I have a list of staging bins. And this brings up how you can use bins inside of SAP besides to represent your physical racking structure. So we often think of it like Home Depot, where there's shelves and you say, okay, I'm going to go to a specific aisle and a specific row and a specific shelf, and I'll find my material. But you can also create bin locations inside of SAP that are mobile. So here you can see for the staging process that was talked about earlier, we've gone ahead and created carts. This allows your pickers to be able to move through the warehouse with a cart that's been identified. And as they take the material from the shelf and pick it, they're able to move it and identify which cart it's going to, so that if it's sitting waiting to be packed, we're able to identify where the material is, and that will be very useful. Of course, you also have the ability to create virtual locations. So if we take a look at some of the virtual locations, and I'll just pick any bin here, you'll see that you can also create locations that represent customers, such as for consigned inventory, salespeople that might be used for demos, or very popular is to create a service van fleet that you can use replenishment and keep that van up to date. This way you can sell and replenish directly off of your fleet, and allow the WMS to make recommendations to transfer and keep track of the fact that we transferred inventory to these people and to replenish their stock. Within the WMS configuration, you'll see that we have several features that enhance the bin functionality beyond what SAP Business One is already providing. So one is the ability to store license plates. For those of you that are not familiar, a license plate is going to be a collection of material, typically multiple items, but not always. And this is something that allows you to be able to have a distinct unit that can be moved throughout and picked throughout the WMS processes. So if I have multiple items, maybe multiple serial numbers, and I want to be able to create an identifier, a license plate, like a tag, that number can be used and stored so that when I go into a bin, I can identify that there might be multiple license plates that are breaking up groups of the items that are in a bin. So this is a feature that we'll go through and take a look later. Within the picking, you can see that I have a situation where using the allocation methods, we may be told to go to a specific bin. So perhaps we're going to the oldest inventory, or the one with the most quantity, or something else along those lines. When we get there, perhaps the inventory is inaccessible because it's in the back of a bin or something else along those lines. So you might want to be able to, from the mobile device, override the bin and say, no, I'm going to take it from another location. But certain users may not have the authorization to do that, so we have the ability to set an override password so that when we do change the bin, perhaps only a warehouse supervisor can give the authorization to do it and to be able to use the password. Further, when working within the inventory, you'll see that we do have the ability to set rules to help move the material through the bins. One of the most common ones is the directed put away, or DPA rules. And within the directed put away, you can see that I have the ability to define the rules that I want to work with. Part of it is to use the reserve consolidation, which we'll get into when we talk about hard allocations for inventory, or item level directed put away options. This allows you to determine that for specific items, if you want to put them away in a manner that is different from the rest of the rule, at the item level, you have the ability to, actually item warehouse level, you have the ability to determine special rules that will be honored, and you can choose the sequence in which they're honored. However, and you can see in my case, I then am going to use the standard default bin from SAP, or go to a bin that is fixed for that item and replenish it up to its maximum, all the way down to just finding any empty bin that I can put this. So the rules are flexible and you can sort them. When we do look at a reserve consolidation, what the reserve consolidation feature does, again, is if I have stock in inventory and I have a customer that I am allocating it to, I may want to pre-pick the material and move it to a specified location in the warehouse. As mentioned, this ensures that it's no longer available for another user to take because it won't be allocated in the pick, but it's also the ability to be able to keep the material together. So if I'm waiting for additional material to come in off of a purchase order that might be special ordered, or I am picking something over the course of numerous days to be able to get it ready for a truckload order, or something else along those lines, you have the ability to move that material, and once everything is in that bin, be able to go ahead and process the pick and make the outbound shipment. So as you can see, I can consolidate everything where I take a bin and I make it specific to a specific customer and order, or just to the customer, or even mixed customers where I'm just going to move the reserves bin out into a reserved area to make sure the inventory is available. And this will get automated by the pick process that we'll look at later, called advanced allocation. When working with just regular stock, and we talked about the letdown from the bulk bin to the forward picking zone, you may want to be able to control how that inventory is moved. So rather than just using the bin codes, you do have the ability for batch or serialized items to work based off of the batch expiration or serial expiration date. So you can see here I have the expiration date, the manufacturing date, or the date that it entered my warehouse, and I can do it on a first in, first out, meaning that I always take my oldest inventory from wherever it's being stored in the bulk locations and move it forward to the picking locations. And that way, when we do the picking, we're always getting our oldest inventory without having to send users all over the warehouse. It's more efficient than having to constantly go each time we pick it to move it in bulk as we need to replenish our forward picking. All of this information is used to help drive and automate the process in the warehouse, but it also provides for great auditing and research capabilities. As we showed before, we have the ability to identify within a bin location the serial numbers are, what batches are there, what products are there, but we also have the ability to go ahead and take a look at the activity log. And so if I need to trace everything that's happened, I can come in and select a bin code. And as I select my bin code and display, you'll see that I'm able to see every transaction that went into the bin. So I can see the type of transaction, who performed the transaction, where the bins were moved to and from, as well as which documents, even the time and date, and even what device they were working on. So this gives you the ability to have a lot of data that you are working with inside of SAP Business One. And when we do go ahead and take a look at a bin, I missed one thing when we looked at our bins earlier. So let me just go back to, when you do look at the inventory posting list, anything that was transacted will also have its details available here. So when you're looking at a bin and you're looking at all the transactions, you can see in the comments whether it was based on a particular purchase order, which user processed it in WMS, as well as the time and date stamp. So using the Resolv WMS and Resolv mobile functionality will provide a lot more data for you in terms of being able to audit or get reports for performance or effectiveness in the system. Finally, before we get into the mobile version itself, I want to just go through the ability to look at the advanced allocations. And as mentioned, the advanced allocations is designed to create the pick ticket. So the basis for outbound transactions, whether it's out to a customer for a sales order or into a production order or for an inventory transfer request, is the pick ticket inside of SAP Business One. And there is a pick pack manager, which is great, but this gives us the ability to automate that process further. So I can create an unlimited number of rules, and the rules can be based on queries or based on transactions. So if I take a look at this one here, which is based on a query, this allows me to be able to look for any event that I want to program. So if I look at the query here, you can see I'm able to write my own query, or I can just use a query that's saved inside of Query Generator in SAP Business One. And this allows me to identify when this action should occur. So for example, we talked earlier about the consolidation, where I want to wait and release a sales order to be picked only when all of the inventory is available and I've moved it into my consolidation bin. So therefore, each of the products that I had in stock, I was able to move to that consolidation bin. When I received material that was special ordered into the warehouse, the directed put away rule also told me to move it into the consolidation bin. And now the system is monitoring, and when we find that all of that inventory is available in that one bin location, the system will automatically generate a pick ticket. When it generates the pick ticket, you have the ability to use these pick actions, and the pick actions help us determine how many pick tickets and what should be included in the pick ticket. So as you can see, we have the ability to control whether or not if the line is 100% or the document is 100% available. But with respect to bins, you have the ability to come in here and filter where it should be used from. So if I do want to make sure that I'm only working with bins that are reserve bins, I can come in here and specify that I want to take them only from a specific location, such as only from the clean room, or being able to specify a specific. Further, when we do look at the pick list generation parameter, just like the pick pack manager, you have the ability to group. And when we do group, you have the ability to group by the warehouse sublevels or the warehouse attributes. And this can also aid in determining if we want to use an alternate allocation method. So instead of just using the warehouse settings for specific pick rules, maybe I have a customer that's always a large order. And when I use the large order, and I apologize about the cell phone, when I use the large order, I want to bypass my regular picking bins and instead go to the bulk bins and pick directly from them. So I have the ability to control that. And finally, I can also specify who should get the pick, so I can specify when it will be picked. I can identify a picker as a specific user, or even being able to identify the user that has the least number of pick tickets open. So this gives me a lot of flexibility in generating the pick ticket, as well as being able to use a schedule to determine how frequently I want to do this evaluation. So it could be on a one-time basis, or you could set a frequency, such as using, every 15 minutes or every hour. Now, the other type besides using a query is the transactional based. So this means that when I enter in the sales order in this particular case, so you can see I can come in and just like we would on an approval, be able to determine which documents we want to process, and the system will run the same kind of concept with the pick actions, giving me the ability to determine specific rules that I want to meet and release those pick tickets automatically. This is our mobile interface for Resolv. And for those of you that haven't seen it before, I am using a computer right now, so this is in a web browser, but it's based on SAP Fiore's responsive design. And what that means is that it will automatically adjust to the type of device you're using. So if I wasn't using a computer, let's say I was using a tablet like an iPad or a Galaxy, you can see it will automatically reorganize the tiles to be able to fit them to that device. Or if you're using one of the traditional scanners, you might get a view that looks something similar to this. So this will work on any device, whether it's a Windows device, an Android device, an Apple iOS device, and it will automatically resize to the appropriate device. Now within that, we do offer the ability to use the quick search. Quick search is similar to enterprise search inside of SAP Business One, but it's provided within the multiple. So if I'm going to go ahead and search one of my products here, you can see I was able to scan, and the same information that we saw inside of SAP Business One is going to be available here. So I'm able to review the information, so I can see for this particular product which bin locations I can see the quantity and the unit of measure that's associated with it. If I go into the details here, see that I'm able to get a description of what the product is, a picture that we can drill in and see bigger, more detail, as well as being able to see all the different unit of measures that are supported and the barcode equivalents. When we look at warehouse quantity, it will show us the ability to look at different warehouses and see what quantity might be available in different warehouses. And when we look at other information that's provided, one of the really great ones is the ability to use the previous bins. Previous bins functionality will identify bin locations that had the item previously, but do not currently have any inventory. And that's useful because if we're looking for a missing item, the most likely place that it's going to be is either in the bin that it used to be in, or maybe one bin to the left or to the right. And so by being able to see when the last time this item was there and where it was located, it helps you be able to identify if there are any discrepancies because of a physical mistake in moving product, or when you're looking to be able to put product away, if you want to be able to get an idea of where it's been in the past, you have the ability to come in and see. And then we'll look at license plates a little bit later. This particular product doesn't have, but again, using the quick search information is going to give us the ability to quickly and easily use the item description, this barcode, whatever we want to be able to do to find all the information that we saw inside of SAP Business One, but now on your mobile device. We'll move into picking, and again, we do have other sessions that would talk about the WMS as a whole. This one, we're focusing primarily on the bins, so I'm not going to explain all the different picking types, but if you do have any questions, please do reach out to us. We're happy to explain all, but I'm just going to go ahead and pick a simple sales order. When I pick this sales order here, I'm going to use a pick list that was generated for me automatically. And you can see here that it's going to show me which bin I should go get the material from and the quantity that's required. Now, as I look at this, you'll see that I have the ability to come in here and create a new pack. This is part of the ability to be more efficient so that instead of having to pick and pack, I have the ability to go ahead and pack directly to a box. But now what I'm going to do is to come in and scan the item. And so I'm going to have my can of Coke, and you can see that it's automatically increased the picked quantity. Now, when I go into the details of this picked quantity, you'll see here that it shows me that I did pick it from the bin that it was supposed to be picked from. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that pick, and instead of picking it from the bin that we were supposed to, I am going to change the bin that I want to pick it from. So you'll see that I am now going to pick it my A13L1. So I'm going to walk over to that bin, and when I go to change this bin, you'll notice that it is asking me for the override password. So I can, since I know the password, go ahead and approve that, and it will bring in the bin. Now, when I go ahead and scan that, you'll see that it does show me that I was originally supposed to take it from this bin allocation, but instead I picked it from a different bin, and that's going to, again, be controlled by the authorizations that we with the password, as well as being able to automatically update the pick ticket without having to go back into SAP to reflect the actual location that we took the product. Having picked everything, I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and it's going to now say, okay, great, you just picked your order, but since you're not shipping it yet, where do you want to put it? So this again brings up all of those different staging locations. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and put it into cart number 2. And now I have the ability to track the fact that this material is no longer on the shelf, but instead is actually in cart number 2. And once again, the pick ticket will be updated, waiting for us to do that. Next, we're going to go into receiving. So I'm just going to go ahead and ignore the request to print. So we'll go ahead and go into the receiving. And similarly, we're going to go into a purchase order. So here you can see I'm going to go into my purchase order. My vendor was great and included the purchase order number on the packing slip. Let me just move this out of the way. Now, so far, I've been using the scanning. One of the things that's good about using the mobile device is that you do not necessarily need to scan. You do have the ability to come in and do the lookup, and this is going to support the ability to do fuzzy search. So if I'm looking for a receiving bin, you can see I can type in a part of the bin, and it will show me just the bins that I want to be able to receive in. So in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and select the bin that I want to receive it into. And then like we did with the packages, if I want to receive the material, I can just go ahead and start scanning. But if I did want to now create a license plate to indicate that this is going onto a new license plate, you can see is going to allow me to group the product together. And then what we're going to do is just go ahead and we'll capture that we wanted to bring in, let's say 4 of these. And then we'll bring in 5 of another product. So when I come in here, I can link it to the existing license plate, and we're just going to go ahead and take 5 of this product. Now at this point, you can see we ordered 10, but we've only received 4 and 5. What I'm now going to do is to change the bin location. So I'm going to be able to receive into multiple bin locations. And again, I will scan my bin location here, and I can actually generate a new license plate. So you'll see it's got a different number, and now I can go ahead and put the remaining units into this different license plate. And when I go in and I receive the rest of it, you can see here that it now shows me the 2 different license plates that are in the different bin location. So we're going to go ahead and take 5 of those. And the reason this is here is I apologize, I selected the wrong quantity before. So we'll go ahead and put the remaining 2 units in. And now you can see that I have successfully received everything, as well as being able to generate the license plate functionality. So we'll go ahead and we'll finish this, and then we'll be able to go use the quick search again, which I could do right from here. The quick search is pretty much persistently available, but we'll just go ahead and take a look at it from the main menu. And again, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to scan a bin, and when I scan the bin, you're able to see all the different products that are in the bin, what kind of bin it is, any serial or batch numbers, but we're also going to be able to take a look at the license plates. So again, you can now see a list of the different license plates that we've created, and these give me the ability to have a breakdown. So I know not just how many units I have in a bin, but also the groupings that are used, so we can move the license plates and not necessarily break them, or you can break them if you need to. Now, all of this is creating data that we can use. As we talked about before, we want to look at the analytics. So first, we can go ahead and take a look at the analytics, and in here you can see we have different reports. I'm going to focus on the bin velocity report, because what this is going to give me the ability to do is to take a look at, and I'll just look at month to date, which bins have been used the most. So here you can see I'm given a report that tells me the number of times that I've gone and I've touched a bin, and the quantity that I've moved in the last date. And this is very useful because it helps you identify if your bin, if your inventory is in bins that are inefficient. You want to try to keep the amount of movement in your warehouse to a minimum. And so therefore, if you're constantly going out to remote parts of your warehouse, this gives you the ability to identify the products or bins that you might be using that are in inefficient locations, and can help you restructure where you store your material in order to be able to optimize the workflow. It also does give you great reporting. So if I want to be able to see the performance of my employees or where the items are moving, Again, you can get similar reports, but all of this is natively captured and supported, giving you a lot more information by just using the bin data to look at. Another type of bin report that you can use is to get a visualization of how your warehouse is being used. You go into the bin levels and I select my clean room, you'll be able to see that I can get a display that will show me each of the different bin locations that are in that location and whether or not they're used or full. So now you can see that I have different locations, some of which are being underutilized. So if I come in here and I want to highlight the bins that are empty or low utilization, or maybe the medium utilization bins, or bins that are or above capacity. This gives me a nice visualization of how my warehouse is being utilized, and I can click on any of them to be able to get into the detail. Again, be able to see all the same detail that we used with the quick search. So this gives you a good way to be able to get an idea of where to go put something if you're looking for something, or again, areas that you might want to and reorganize. Now that we've gone ahead and take a look at some of the more standard transactions, like the picking and the receiving, we could have done the same thing for production order or for returns. Go ahead and just take a look at some inventory transactions. Now within SAP, you have the ability to create warehouse transfers. These can be inner warehouse transfers, which are just bin moves. So you can see the from warehouse and the to warehouse would be the same, and we can simply select the product. Or you can create an intra warehouse movement. So if I need to consign inventory, for example, I have the ability to come in here and select the bin transfer. Okay. As I come in here and decide to transfer my product, you'll see here that I can create, pick a product that I want to transfer. I'll just scan a product. I'll see the bins that this product is located in. So you can see I have it in a couple of different locations. And I'm going to be able to specify that I want to move it into different bins. And as we talked about, I have my virtual bins. So if I want to move it to Machina, I can go ahead and select this bin location. And in fact, if I want to see, who the bin is, if I type in that code, you can see here that it is actually showing me that this is the Machina Corporation, where I can come in and I can see the details about ship tos or other kind of information about the customer. So this is a quick and easy way to be able to use bins to help you organize your house and to be able to transfer. Now the use of this, in this case, is an instant transfer. Something like this would typically be done instead by an inventory transfer request, which would be more planned and giving you the ability to go ahead and a pick list and possibly being able to use in-transit warehouses as part of the WMS system. So have the ability to use both inventory transfers and inventory transfer requests where the bins will be able to move it. So we can take from bin, move it into an in-transit location, and then when it reaches its destination, be able to take it and move it out, give us the ability to do the receiving in addition to the picking. But another type of transfer that's very common is to want to consolidate all of the inventory from a bin location to another location. When you're working with that, so let's say a bin is available, but we want to free up all those inventory and move it into another location so I can put a full pallet into a bin location. When I do that, I am going to want to take all of the materials in a particular bin location. So again, I'm going to take everything from my bin 3, I'm going to go ahead and move it into my bin 2. This allows me to free up the space, but by doing it this way with the bulk bin transfer, I do not need to go in here, and if we take a look at everything that's currently in A3, you can see I have 4 different types of products. I have lots of serial numbers. So instead of having to scan each individual item out, I'm able to just simply say I want to move everything from 3 into bin 2, and it will merge that data into bin 2. So by simply hitting finish, all of that serial numbers, the license can be moved in a very efficient manner. If we go ahead and we take a look at what's in bin 2, you can see all of the data, including the license plates, have been moved into bin 2. Again, this gives you the ability to be more efficient with your data so that you can move bulk without having to scan all the supporting data. Now within your bin maintenance feature, this also is going to give us the ability to come in and change what's associated with a bin. So if I scan my bin here, you can see it's going to show me the details, so I can see which item it's associated with, and I could change the item as long as it's empty to a different item if I want to change my fixed bin, having to go back into SAP, or I can change things like the maximum weight or the minimum max quantity, and this will update the bin, again, giving you the ability to maintain this without having to go back into SAP, is kind of a useful thing when we're working with the bin. Next, what I want to do is just introduce a little bit of the concept of the order reservation. So within order reservations, what it's going to give me the ability to do is to hard allocate inventory. And so I just want to go ahead and take a look at one of the items that the system, this is a battery. Okay? When I look at this, you can see here, it's going to show me all the different sales orders that are outstanding. The reason I brought this up, even though this hasn't been related, is because you can see here for 1984, that I have 2 units and that I've asked it to be consolidated. This goes back to the idea that we were talking about. We want to see, what's going on with the items, and I can control whether or not I want to consolidate this. Now, typically, this will be done inside SAP by a salesperson that wants to allocate the inventory. But you do have the ability for your warehouse people to decide, hey, this is a big pick ticket and I'd like to stage it. They can come in here and choose to do the consolidation on there. Now that we've kind of seen where that data is coming from, let's go ahead and take a look at the movement that it creates. So this is what would typically happen is we have that material coming in. You then have the ability to come in and take a look at our consolidation. I'm going to go in here and choose center port component, hit load. Now you can see it's going to show me the recommendation. You can see that we want to move those batteries for center port components, and it's telling us where to take it. And this is going to give us the ability to choose one to cross-dock it to. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and select this. You'll see I'm going to cross-dock it to this particular product, and I'm going to go ahead, not cross-dock, I'm going to consolidate to this particular bin. May already have other material for that customer, and this gives me the ability to come in and move the material. Because this product was batch managed, it's now asking me to, serial managed, it's now asking me to specify the serial numbers, so I can simply scan the serial numbers. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my serial number barcode, so I'll just pick them instead. But you can see in here, I have the ability to select the different serial numbers that I want to transfer. I can go ahead and move them, and it will automatically keep track. I go ahead and simply finish, and that's going to move the material from its standard inventory to the location where it's waiting for other material to arrive, so we can go ahead and pick it. Next, we're going to take a look at cross-docking. Now, cross-docking is a little different from the reservations, because what this gives me the ability to do is to, again, I'm just going to choose my receiving bin location, but it's going to give me the ability to identify products that are in my receiving dock that I have the ability to ship without doing a put away. So this is done automatically. The fact that there are open sales orders for this product have not yet been released to a pick, and that we have this, we can go ahead and take a look at this product. So again, to do a quick search on the product, we can see where that's coming from. So if I take a look at my sales orders, you can see, in fact, here there is a sales order for Amazon for 2 units, and we can drill in to see, any of the details if we want to see other products that might be on it. In this case, it's the only on it. We're supposed to send it by air. You know what? We say, yeah, let's go ahead and take it right now and move it to a cross-dock location. So again, we'll scan our product. We'll say, yep, we're going to take this product and move it to the cross-dock location. So now you can see I get the ability to say I'm going to just move it to my cross-dock bin. Now, the reason we want to move it to a cross-dock bin instead of picking directly out of the receiving is the receiving bin could be busy. You could have lots of material there, forklifts that are coming in and out. So what we want to do is to take that, instead of doing a put away to its regular bin locations, or instead of leaving it in the receiving bin, we're going to move it into a dedicated cross-dock area. And this way, when the pick ticket is created, the bin has a higher priority, and that advanced allocations rules that we talk can send the pick ticket directly to the cross instead of to the standard inventory location. That's going to make it much more efficient for us to be able to do the picking. And as I mentioned, this happens automatically. You don't need any set or any predetermined reservations or allocations on the sales order. This is supported just by the fact that we have the material available in our receiving bin and sales orders that are available to ship. Next, we can also take a look at the directed put away. With respect to the directed put away, again, I'm going to choose my receiving bin location, and this is going to load all of the different items that are in that receiving bin, and you can see that this gives me recommendations. So it's saying, hey, you should take this product, this Diet Coke, and you should put 8 of them into this bin location. So this is going to give me the ability to work on this, and we could take the Coke Zero and move it into its location, whichever product we want. Again, you can scan or simply click into it, and I'm going to go ahead and confirm the quantity that I'm going to put away. So this will guide me through the warehouse. Now, within WMS, you do have the ability to come in here and sort. These are currently being sorted by the from location, but we have the ability to come in and say, I want to maybe sort by the to bin location, and this will reorganize so that I have a path to work through the warehouse. So if my receiving bin was a mobile receiving bin, like a cart, you have, again, the ability to walk through the warehouse and be directed to walk to each bin and then scan and confirm the bins. So now that we've finished our directed put away, the next thing that's going to wind up happening is the bin replenishment. So you can see here there are currently 4 items that are below their maximum. We have the ability to look below min or below max. In this case, I'm just going to do below min. And what this is saying is that here I have inventory that's in its bulk location, but I want to be able to process it and move it to a picking location because the picking location is below its minimum quantity. And I want to make sure that I have units available for my pickers. So here again, you can see it's telling me where to take the product from and where to put the product to. Again, this happens to all be the same product, telling me to take it from in 2 different locations based on the available quantity. In this particular case, we're going to go ahead and take this Diet Coke, but instead of scanning 24 eaches, we're going to be able to use the case unit of measure. So as you can see, there were different units of measure. In this case, a case was 24. And when I go ahead and scan just the 1 unit in, you can see that will satisfy the entire quantity. So if I unhide finished, you can see all 24 units were picked and moved. And again, I can go ahead and finish this, which will move the inventory from the bulk location down into the picking location to be able to be used for further processing. Having looked at the ability to process transactions like receiving and picking and being able to look at movements that are suggested throughout the warehouse and in the analytics, one of the other really important things that working with bins is going to provide you is the ability to enhance your counting. So when we do counting, you have the ability to count not all of an item, but just the items within a specific bin location. And that gives you the ability to say, I want to maybe go count my pick bins more frequently and my bulk bins less frequently, even for the same item, as an example. So we have a couple of different types of counting. You can see I can count by a bin to make immediate adjustments to a bin. I can do a physical or a cycle count using the cycle count functionality within inside of SAP Business One. But again, the idea of using Resolv Mobile with the touch functionality is that you don't need to use a scanner. So here, this is going to be somebody that might just want to use a tablet to come in and do counting. So they're going to come in and pick their bin. And when they do, you can see that it will show you the items that are supposed to be in the bin. Again, you can get pictures to be able to confirm that you're working with the right product. And without using a scanner at all, I have the ability to come in here and confirm or adjust the count. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and save. Now, this was a serialized product. So now, because we're not using a scanner, it's showing me all the serial numbers that are supposed to be there. I could remove one and change one if I did want to change the serial number, but I'm just going to go ahead and accept that all 18 serial numbers are correct. And this will allow me to create the counting inside of SAP Business One without having to actually use the scanner, but still being able to use a smart device like a mobile device. Later, we'll go back inside SAP and we can see the transaction that this creates, but there is one other type of transaction that I wanted to work with, which is the quality control. Now, in quality control, I may have already received product in. So in this particular case, I have a goods receipt PO that I created earlier, and that goods receipt PO was going to be for some Diet Coke, and it was put into a bin location. Now, that Diet Coke, I haven't looked to see whether or not it's expired or leaked or anything else along those lines yet. So the system automatically moved it from its stocking location into an inspection bin that's quarantined and doesn't allow picking or other types of transactions. So what I can do is assign it to myself to do the inspection. And then once I've done that, I can actually come in here and see the inspection process that needs to be done. So if I look at this, you can see, okay, there's 48 cans of Diet Coke. I can look to see what I need to do. I need to take a sample of 3 units and determine whether or not they're dented or expired. So I can process this here in the mobile, or we can go back into SAP. And if we take a look at the quality control module inside of SAP Business One, you can see I'm able to look at the inspections and get a similar process inside of SAP Business One. So this is where we're using bins even without the mobile environment. So I have the ability to come in here and I'm going to say, yes, this was dented. Yes, it was dented. And yes, it expired. And yes, it expired. So this was a bad shipment altogether. So I can go ahead and hit add on this. The system's going to tell me there was only 2 good tests, 4 bad tests. And this is going to fail inspection. And so now it's going to move it from the inspection bin into a bin where we have to do a decision. So if I go back and I take a look at the goods receipt PO that was created, okay, here is the goods receipt PO. I can right click and do the QC inventory posting list and see each of the inventory transfers. So I can drill in to the document and be able to see the transfers that were created automatically. And this is showing me my from bin location and my to bin location. So you can see the product moving from its stocking location into the inspection location. And again, being able to be moved into the further bin. So in this case, it looks like I actually was within tolerance, so it confirmed. and it moved back into its stocking bin location. Just last but not least, again, we want to take a look and see those counting transactions that we talked about. They are within standard SAP Business One as well. So if we take a look at the counting that we just did, you can see that the counting comes in, but we see the counting was posted. It does also include who it was counted by in WMS, as well as the time and date stamp. And you can see that was used within this as well. So this gives us, again, the ability to do different counting by item, by bin location without the warehouse. So Shannon, I know we went a couple of minutes over here, but I wanted to make sure we had some time for Q&A. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop here, and I'll turn it back over to you if you want to see if there are any questions from the audience.